Hello, dearest friends, dearest beautiful co-creator souls of love and light. This is Lady Nanari, Princess of the Sea, coming to you with a new video. And as you can see, I'm sitting here by the warmth of the fire, as it is beautiful, and it feels so beautiful for warming the heart. So I wish to share with you a few things on the path of inner soul child healing. So one of the things that came up during the course, when I was teaching my soul mediumship course just recently over the last 6 weeks, had a lot to do with inner soul child healing. Now, there's a difference between inner soul child healing and inner child healing. So I want to explain the difference between those two. Inner child healing work is usually things that you deal with in terms of shifting and healing things from this life, things that are triggers for you that happen in this life. Inner soul child healing work is about coming into your soul child, or the soul of who you are, and seeing that rawness, that vulnerableness, that innocence, that awe-inspiring wonder that you had when you were here as a child initially, yet seeing it from the soul perspective and then healing all that no longer serves you, not just from this life, but from all lives, in all dimensions, including lives here on this earth, but in other dimensions, parallel universes, parallel lives, things of that nature. So that's a lot of deeper healing work that we're going to be talking about here. And I liken it to the cleanup as you go. There's deeper inner healing work, inner soul child healing work, to bring out the soul of who you are. And it's in infinite layers that this happens, but it's kind of like a clean as you go thing. When you're doing the deeper work and you're bringing up a lot of other lives and other dimensions and things of that nature, and if you don't understand what infinite consciousness is in terms of parallel dimensions and parallel timelines and multidimensional consciousness, I will leave some links here in the video description, and I speak about that on timeline loops and things of that nature as well. But for those of you who have a grasp of this already and understand this, I call it the clean as you go thing. And the reason is it's from the way I brought my children up. In raising my children, what I did was I used to teach them how to clean as you go in the kitchen. So basically, as we were cooking something, I would always clean up, so that basically all you had left were usually the dishes from the meal, whatever that meal was, lunch, dinner, what have you, even, brekkie or breakfast. But you don't have so much, it doesn't pile up, right? And most of us usually do this where we cook and we pile things up and it becomes this right mess, and then we've got, oh my gosh, we've got all of this work to do, right? So it's kind of the same thing with soul. The soul itself, it's a misnomer in a way to call it inner soul child healing, because we're not healing our soul. A lot of people think we're healing our soul. A lot of people talk about DNS, or dark night of the soul. The soul in and of itself is not dark. It's free from being dark. It's free from experiencing a dark night in terms of the soul. What that means is that the ego is experiencing a dark night, and it's coming into the essence of the soul, and so it's shedding what no longer serves you. So this is shedding what no longer serves you from a multidimensional consciousness perspective. So I'm going to put on my reading glasses here because I have some notes of things that I want to make sure that I cover in this. Usually I just record and one take, and this is one take. However, I'm going to be looking at some notes along the way. So what happens is that we tend to have a narrow focus when we're in hurt and we're in pain, and we become contracted. So in expansion, what we want to do is instead of focusing on what appears to be so real in the moment of hurt, pain, doubt, worry, anxiety, doing this process of what I'm going to bring forth to you of inner soul child healing work, we have the ability to take several slow, deep Buddha belly breaths and then widen out our lens and to be able to see the bigger picture of source, the larger truth of it. And because this is where our true freedom resides. and true love resides. Okay. So this is something that I practice in my life, and a clean up as you go, because most of my other lives and things of that nature, I have already healed and shifted. But you know, there's infinite things and infinite possibilities. But I do this practice all the time, and most of you who really know me, I talk a lot about Buddha and Buddha's practices and whatnot, because I incorporate all forms of traditions into the healing work that I do. And Buddha, speaking about compassionate listening and being that balance and hearing another and hearing another's heart. I've done many videos, and this is what I do. Now, this is free from meaning that, you know, I still don't get triggered. Of course I do. And then I take a look deep within me, having to do that with this. Went through some things just recently, which I will share about later on the path. But for right now, I'd like to share with you the process, because what happens is we're not always able to hear each other and hear from our heart in compassionate listening, and heal from compassionate listening. And this includes hearing our own self. So it has been said that once there was a master who asked his disciples, why do we shout when we're angry? Why do people shout when they are upset? Do any of you have a sense of why? And why do we forcefully try to make our point so loudly when we're angry? And people tried answering him. You know, well, you know, we lose our calm when we shout, and it's for that reason. Yet, truly, the master said, there is this aura of they were unable to answer him. So the master then explained this. When two people are angry at each other, their heart's distance is so vast that they cannot really hear one another in their hearts. So to cover that vast distance, they shout at one another. Yet what happens when two people fall in love? Fall as in being in that essence of love, when they're falling in love, being in love, falling into soulful love, being in that love and all the attributes of loving kindness and compassion, empathy. They are then free from shouting at one another. Rather, they speak softly. Why? Because their hearts are so very close, at a very close distance, and their distance is very small. So there's free from being any reason to shout. And in fact, there is free from being any time, space, or distance. Only deep love in our hearts when we are very close. So the same can be said if you're holding on to things or judging another, or anything that creates distance in your heart with their heart. So what I'm going to invite you into is a process that I use all the time. Now, just recently, I went through an experience of this in which I had forgotten that practice for a brief moment. Part of what I had shared with this person was triggered. Part of it wasn't. Part of it was standing in boundaries, because this person has addictions and he denies having these addictions. And in fact, we were at a recent event, several friends of ours and this gentleman, and he wreaked havoc all night, harming me, threatening me on the dance floor, being completely pissed drunk, and harming everyone, not just myself, but other ones close to him. And it was very hard to watch, very hard to observe. And I had to keep my mouth shut in some instances and practice that compassionate listening in the moment. I later since found out that he doesn't even remember what happened that evening. But it showed to me how much healing work he has to do. And so there was a series of events that happened before that, in which part of what I shared was a triggered reaction because of something somebody else said that was involved in this person's life. She was saying that she wanted to be able to understand my wisdom. However, my wisdom was too much for her small mind to comprehend. And then she had further said that I allowed things to happen with my twin soul. Now, my immediate reaction, which was true, it was also partly a trigger, but it was also truth, was coming from a place of saying to her that if I allowed what happened from between me and my twin soul, that was like saying that the man who raped me when I was 15, that somehow I allowed that as well. Now, from the soul perspective, we do allow things, not from a sense of blame, but from a sense of we have soul agreements. Now, according to what I found out after the fact of this happening, this person who had said this is a Buddhist. However, I quite understand, being that I know Buddha and his work and know many who are Buddhists. A Buddhist would not say that in that way in a comment on Facebook. They would say something like, in the Buddhist tradition, we know that we allow things having to do with soul agreements, or something along those lines. Or as the Buddha would say, and whatnot. This was not said. And the fact that she had said that my wisdom was too complicated for her simple mind, again, was not said in a Buddhist context. And being the fact that she had made no reference to the fact that she was Buddhist, one had no idea of knowing that. It is nowhere on her Facebook either. So part of me was saying in truth the reality of what was happening in the moment and standing as a mentor, because this person had come to me in August and asked me to assist him, to help him with his addiction, to help him in deeper soul healing work. Yet I came to realize through this event that he was not really willing, and that he was choosing a lower vibration from an earthly perspective. From a soul perspective, there is no higher or lower vibration. There's just multidimensional vibrations and frequencies on the spectrum of the dial. He was choosing to run away from a deeper soul connection and deeper healing work, and instead have a relationship that is less than, and then trying to convince others, and more importantly himself, that he's happy. And if this is what he chooses, this is fine. And then I came into remembering this practice and doing it again, as I always do, the clean as you go. So the first step in this is to actually look within. So getting out of he said this or she said that, he did this, he did that. But looking from within, free from blaming, but looking within in inquiry. Checking to see, for instance, let's give an example. Let's say somebody feels unheard and they are lashing out at you and you get triggered and you don't feel heard. So you want to look within and check to see if the person who is free from hearing you in any way of how you're not hearing yourself. And be compassionate listening with yourself for that. And then be that compassionate listening as you bring up all of the different lives that are coming up that may be triggering. So the question you want to ask is, I'm feeling unheard. Pause. I'm being triggered. Pause. So your first step is to look within and to pause long enough to get in touch with the vulnerability of not feeling heard, not feeling loved, not feeling accepted, whatever it was the trigger is. And you can do that by asking, what is it that I need in this moment? But you want to come from that place of, instead of, oh, he did that and he hurt me, taking it within first. Moving beyond the anger and the hurt of the event and the wanting of someone or something to be different. So like with this person that I was referring to, he had come to me in mentoring, asking me for mentoring, and wanted my assistance. So I had not an expectation, but a way of relating to him. And this is the place that I was coming to him from, and what I had shared about his addictions and about helping. Now, he thought it was because I was trying to interfere with his relationship, but that wasn't the case. It was coming from that place of love. And so I, in boundaries, had to set that boundary and be in that truth. And then also apologize to him and say, listening to his heart, you know what, I'm sorry. I thought you were spiritually evolved and this other person was spiritually involved enough to accept what was given in love, but you're not ready. And that's okay. I get that. And the way I came to that was I paused long enough to get past feeling triggered, feeling angry of, oh, he did this and he said that and she said this and she said that. And I moved into this place of, oh, wow. I wasn't feeling heard. I wasn't feeling, because he wasn't feeling heard. He was feeling hurt. He was feeling as if I was encroaching upon him. So I took it within and then turned it into me and looked within and saw all the ways that I was encroaching on myself and hurting myself. So then I was able to respond in that inner soul child healing love. And I was able to hold my inner child, seeing that my needs were unmet, and holding her and saying, you know what, it's okay. You are loved. You are safe. You are beautiful. You're all right. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay, darling. And I held her and I loved her. And I compassionately listened as she cried. And she said, people just don't understand. I was coming from love. I wasn't trying to harm. It had nothing to do with interfering with the relationship. It had to do with mentoring and what this gentleman asked of me. And I feel bad that I hurt him. And so this was all the things that my inner child was hurting from. And then it was calling back other lives, too, in which I had done that. Not that those lives hadn't been healed for me, but it was just remembering that and that unmet need. And so it was just self-soothing. I was self-soothing myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're hurting. I love you, my little child. Sweet, beautiful soul, Nanari. Because when anger comes up, when hurt comes up, when pain comes up, whether it's for yourself or for another, it's because there's an unmet need that's there. And when we're able to look within, we're able to respond. So that's what responsibility, we take responsibility for ourselves. That means respondability. We take the ability to respond. And we respond to our own inner child first. Then the next step in that process, once you've acknowledged those emotions that, oh yeah, I'm hurting right now. I'm sad right now. You can ask that question, what is that unmet need? And then you're giving it to your own inner child, your own inner soul child doing that healing work. And then envision Source giving that to you. It's like a woman who I just did a session with before recording this video. She said, oftentimes when I feel alone, I feel like there's these arms that are behind me that just come and wrap around me and just hold me and let me know it's okay and I'm safe. And I said, you know what? That's Source. God, Spirit, Master Artist, the Tao, whatever you choose to call such. Jesus, Mary Magdalene, whatever Ascended Master or God, Spirit that resonates with you. Feel that holding your inner soul child and healing on all these levels in other lives, parallel dimensions. Healing your heart, saying, you know what, it's okay, honey. I hear you. I understand. I'm here for you. I'm going to listen intently to everything you say because it matters. You matter, and you're important to me, And as you feel Source doing that, and you are doing that for yourself, it's incredibly healing. I had these tears that came, and I had such deep compassion for myself, knowing that, you know what, it was okay, I made a mistake. Mistake, right? And then, the next step in that process, I was then able to return to his heart, this gentleman's heart, and to her heart as well. And I was willing to, for a moment, entertain the fact and understand that, okay, maybe she was coming as a Buddhist. I didn't know that in that moment. But maybe she was. And so I could have compassion for her and compassion for him for where he's at too, on the path. And to know the unmet need that he had and that she had, to feel loved, to feel heard, to feel understood. And then I practiced that within my soul healing work and gave that to them. From Source, envisioned Source giving that to them. And then I also gave that to them. From Source within me. Not my energy, but Source's energy through me. And it was incredibly healing and powerful. Now, I will say though, when you do this process, you can do this without having the person there. If you feel afterwards, and you've come into that calm and centered place, and you can speak with that person, and you can share without being emotionally triggered by the situation, you can come to them and say something like this, which is a little channeled prayer that I kind of wrote out here. When such and such happened, and then you just state without judgment, without emotional trigger about what happened. So in essence, I would have said to this gentleman, physically, if I was able to talk with him, I would say, when such and such happened, of the fact that you wrote what you wrote and blocked me on Facebook, I felt, and then you'll share your emotion, I felt hurt, I felt sad, I felt unheard, I felt unloved. And it was because I needed, and you can state your unmet need, I need to feel heard, I need to feel loved, I need to be accepted for the mentoring that you asked of me. And then you can continue, and once I realized this unmet need, I envisioned Source filling me, giving me this unmet need, and also my inner soul child giving me this in self-soothing and self-love, and I'm now at peace. I know that this may be free from shifting your behavior as you will do as you do, yet I accept you for who you are and where you are on the path, even if it is free from being what I would say or do on the path that I'm on. I thank you for being that mirror of that trigger for me, so that I may heal such within me without making you feel responsible for my emotions and feelings. I appreciate Source, I appreciate me, and I appreciate you. Thank you. I love you. I love Source. I love me. Now, if you're unable to be in front of this person that you're doing this with, in a clean as you go thing, if things come up for you in your life, you can practice this and say this prayer on a soulful level. I'll also leave it in the comments for the video so that you have it. If you can, though, and you're able to talk to this person physically, I was unable to because I know that this person's consciousness is not in this place to accept it. Maybe one day he'll see this video and maybe he will accept it and know that I'm coming from a place of deep love and compassion. And if you're unable to do that, you can do this. You can also do this for loved ones who have crossed over, or maybe a father has passed away, or a mum or a friend has passed away, and you never got to heal those last things between you. You can do that for this life and then all your other lives, because this gentleman that I'm speaking of, there were other lives in which he and I were lovers. We're also near twins. We have this soul bond and connection, whether he's running from it or not, which he appears to be at this present moment, and that's all right. There were still other lives in which we had triggers of things that were coming up, and so I did this. And it may not ever change his behavior towards me. It may not, and if not, that's okay. But this is for you to do the deeper inner soul child healing work within. So when you do this process, it may be free from shifting things between that person and you. You may still have them in your life. You may choose to be no longer in that vibrational frequency, and then they'll just fade out of your life as well. This person had made reference in an evening we had where we all had met from the course for dinner, of saying that, you know, he just liked to kick people out of his life if they don't resonate and such. And there were several who were there in the group who didn't resonate with that, and neither did I. I try my best to let go and love, even if it's my twin soul, when I have had issues with him and his addictions. I have said, you know what, I'm taking some time away. I need to be able to center within and do some healing work on my own. And I need some time away. Not kicking him out of my life. I just need time away. Yeah? But sometimes naturally that happens. What happens is you come to accept them for where they're at. And then you're able to be in a situation with that. And if you aren't, the only exception I will say to this is when it comes to abusive relationships of any sort, whether it's a partner, a family member, or whatnot. This is free from being to mean that people who are abusive towards you, whether emotionally, sexually, physically, manipulations, you know, any of that kind of thing, that you are to allow that to continue. You can take a stand and firm boundaries, as I have done with my twin soul. I have also done with this gentleman, in not being around that energy. I have made a personal stance in my life of a boundary that I'm not going to be around this person when this person is drinking, for my own health and well-being, because I did not appreciate the way he treated me and others that are our mutual friends in the evening that we were all together just recently. I accept him for where he is on his path. I just choose to be free from being in that vibrational frequency because it's harmful. And so for my health and well-being, I choose to be free from that. But at least you're able to do the work on your own, even if anything doesn't shift in the outer realm. Eventually it may, and either they will be in your life in a different capacity, or they will just shift out of your life. So even if you're free from agreeing with their path and what they're choosing, you can still hold them in unconditional love, unconditional acceptance, and compassion for where they're at. So this is why I wanted to share this with you, so that that way you're able to be in that place with people of that love, and to do the deeper inner soul child healing work. So may this video guide you. And please know that I'm always here for you. And one other thing that I will share is that when you're listening compassionately to someone, as I've said often in my other videos, it's hearing the message behind the message. It's listening to their deep heart of this, what is unsaid behind what is said, or even what's written. If somebody's texting you something, or messaging you something via email or Facebook Messenger or something of that nature, Instagram, you know, those kind of things. Listen to them as if you're not hearing their words. Now, it's not to say you don't want to hear their words, because you want to be able to listen to them intently as if what they're saying in the moment is the most important thing in the world. But also do it from a place in bilocation where you're doing two things at once. of where you're also listening to the energy underneath, the vibration underneath. It's like at this dinner recently when this gentleman expressed that he's very happy in this relationship and it's wonderful and you know, everything else. I'm not the only one. Everybody in the room could feel the vibration that although the words were coming out of his mouth saying that he was happy, that deep down he's free from being happy and that this relationship isn't what it seems to be. Okay? So you can tell, it's like when someone, it's like a very basic thing. When you ask someone if they're fine or if they're all right, and they say, oh yeah, I'm fine. And you know deep within them, they're really hurting, that something's wrong. Yeah, so when you're listening, listen from that context to hear the vibration and the frequency, because you pick up on vibration and frequency a lot more than you do the words. And you can hear it in someone's text message to you or email to you as well. My twin soul often has said that, you know, I see through him and that I know him better than he knows himself. And that's very true because, and I'd be nicknamed the man-speak translator because of it from a woman who I mentor, did some sessions with a few years back. And it's because I hear a man's heart and I know what he's really saying behind what he's saying or writing or whatnot. I hear the hurt, I hear the pain, I hear the wanting to be heard, the unmet needs. Yeah? So just take that time and may this video guide you in love and deep soul healing work, inner soul child healing work, in this life and across all the lives in multi-dimensions. And please know, as I said, I'm always here for you. I provide mentoring, twin soul mentoring. I provide soul channeled healing sessions, soul channeled reading sessions, crystal bowl healing, RNA realignment to transmute and transform mutated DNA, where I'm accessing the Akashic records and channeling source energy in all the work that I do. So know that I'm always here for you. And reach out to me and share with me your stories if you try this practice, because you can try this practice and try it first before ending a relationship, whether it's in a partner relationship or friendship or a sister brother or walking away from family or whatnot. Try this practice first on a continuous basis, healing within and then also with them before you walk away from a relationship, instead of just writing them out of your life, as that person had said. And then if it doesn't work, by all means, place that boundary. It's both and. So may this wisdom guide you in love, always, in all ways. Espada.